You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Like a training mission that's going along just fine until the monsters show up. It's Monday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, which means it's time for Mission Log Live. I'm John Champion.
And I'm Holly Amos. And tonight we will be discussing Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 4, All Is Possible. So get your questions and comments ready and give us a call. You know how, click on the Zoom link or use the one tap from your smartphone and call us at 6. Wait, I'm going to see if I know this by heart.
I know you do. I should
know it by heart. I'm not going to look at it.
Okay.
699-900-6833.
Yes.
Yeah. Enter the meeting code and password, and you will see on screen. And then you'll be in the Earl Green room.
Yeah, you'll meet Earl Green, and then you may or may not, after doing that, even want to come join us because, let's face it, you can just hang out and talk with Earl all night. That'll be fine too. How you doing tonight, Holly?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good to see you. It's been a busy day here at Roddenberry World Headquarters, but good. I mean, well, for me, for Roddenberry Podcast, I don't know what the others do all day. I have no idea. I hear laughing and chatting upstairs. Well, I'll just be down here editing shows.
You're in like the dungeon,
pretty
the weird
much
basement.
Yes, but I have my own full kitchen down here, so that's fine. That's
the same kitchen. That's the same kitchen I would partake in when I was in there.
I don't need their upstairs kitchen. I got this one. But,
that's fair.
Yeah, but busy day, but good all around. Definitely looking forward to the chat tonight. I was telling you before we got on the air, I really enjoyed yours and Norman's show last week, catching up on that. And as is often happens, I'll watch an episode and then I'll watch it again, and then I'll listen to you and Norman talk, and I'm like, oh, my appreciation of that episode has now gone up a bit.
Yeah.
And that was definitely the case after listening to you guys and listening to the calls. So I look forward to what our listeners bring tonight as well.
I mean, all credit to our listeners bringing in perspectives that not
indeed.
Even close to the perspective
Right.
where I am. So,
and speaking of those listeners, oh boy, they're in there and they're ready to go. Right at the top, it's Bob Amos.
Shocking. Hi, Dad. May I show?
Yeah. Oh, you have a Rectagino mug.
My holiday Rectagino mug that my mother found for me at some random thrift store.
That is so cool. Do you have other Rectagino mugs, not just the holiday edition?
I have the regular blue one as well, which
Nice.
I found in like a vintage Etsy many years ago.
Wow. I respect that so much. That's very cool. All right. So there's Holly's dad. There's Scott Palm. Glad to see you, Scott. There's John Arminio saying hello there, mission loggers. There's Jane calling in from Bethlehem, New Hampshire. And let's see, there's Paul Wright. And there is Brian. And let's see, there's Alan. It says we're in for a bumpy ride. Yes, we are, Alan. Yes, we are. Let's see here. There's David. There is other Dave. There's Scott saying hi to Dave. So so much interaction, so much chit chat going on. I love it. And let's see. Oh, Mike Richards from our very own Mission Log Orville show jumping into the chat as well. So super glad to see everybody. Hey, it's John Cooley saying, Holly and John, I miss you guys and love that I can see your faces on my communicator from time to time. Good to see you, John. It's awesome. All right. And there we have a third Paul in there. We have Paul Troutwine. So that is awesome too. We have 3 Pauls. We have a Paul Fecta tonight. Good to see you all. So let's talk very quickly about what's coming up this week in Mission Log and Roddenberry Podcast. Well, this Thursday, December 16th, we drop episode 430. That would be Deep Space Nine, Strange Bedfellows. And I don't know how you get any more strange than Dukat and Kai Wynn canoodling over a plate of fruit. My skin crawls every time I watch it. So you definitely tune in for that episode. New episodes of Mission Log Engage are dropping all week long on the Roddenberry YouTube page. So be sure you go over there and you subscribe to the Mission Log Engage playlist. We are having the best time talking about your comments and questions on the main Mission Log in these little bite-sized videos that you can check out every day. We have a new episode of Mission Log the Orville. Hi again, Captain Mike. That'll be released on Wednesday. They are covering Into the Fold, I believe. You can correct me if I'm wrong there. And Mission Log Prodigy, okay, it is on a hiatus because they're in that weird like quarter season hiatus. But I'm going to tease it here that Norman is working on some very special episodes coming up to tide us over between now and January 6th when the show comes back. So to follow both of those shows on Twitter. Make sure you just go over to podcast.roddenberry.com where you can get links to everything, and then you will not miss a show. So, and Mike says that I'm correct. So glad to hear that. One of those rare times. I did not screw that one up. So, all right. So, Holly, if you'll indulge me and all of our listeners out there,
it's gonna be indulgent for a while, guys.
It is. It's man. They pack so much plot. It's like Amadeus. Too many notes. So much plot in an episode of Disco. So here we go. Big breath. Life on Discovery has slowed down a little. Oh, sure, they're still working on solving the problem with the big planet-destroying ADM roaming the galaxy, but at least they've got some downtime where they can all do some other things, too. Book is still working through his grief. Gray is getting used to the new body. Burnham and Saru have been asked to sit in on the negotiations for the Ni'Var to rejoin the Federation since Admiral Vance has a bug. Literally. Something crawling around in his system, so he's going to be sick for the next day or so. And Tilly has been invited by Dr. David Cronenberg to lead some young cadets on a training mission. Dr. Culber urges her to take it, break out from her comfort zone for a while. What could possibly go wrong? Tilly meets her 4 charges, 5 actually, 5 charges, including a reluctant Incendiera, and off they go in Shuttlecraft 11 for what should be a short planetary survey before rendezvous with the USS Armstrong. The cadets aren't particularly talkative, one might even say surly, but soon enough, this ship of angst is turned into a ship of terror when they are hit with a random gamma ray burst, sending the shuttle out of control to crash on a Class L moon. These Galileo 7, Shuttlecraft 6, did I say 6? Sorry, 1 didn't make it. Okay, 5. 5 survivors size up the situation, which is not good. Tilly assures them that this is all very real and they all have a role to play here. Adira works on sensors. There's Sasha the pilot. She'll work on flight systems. There's Haral the Orion who works on communications, and Gorev the Tellarite who works on life support and is not too happy about being stuck with an Orion whose people, were part of the Emerald Chain and made life very difficult for people like Gorev. Tilly urges everyone to just focus on the work at hand. Over on Ni'Var in the Prairie-style system, Burnham and Saru beam down to the Frank Lloyd Wright Convention Center for the negotiations between the Federation and Ni'Var government. Presidents T'Rina and Rillak seem bound to celebrate the historic moment until T'Rina drops a bomb. Ni'Var wants an exit clause, an unconditional way to leave the Federation if they so decide, a Fed exit, if you will. It's unacceptable to Rillak, and the discussions go into recess, which seems to be the cue for Burnham and Saru to poke their noses into what's really going on. Neither side is willing to compromise, and they can't seem to see alternatives. But it's as if the two parties want Burnham and Saru to figure it out themselves. Unofficially, of course. This leads Saru to talk to his friend T'Rina, during which she reveals that she still has to answer to that portion of her people who feel the scars of the last 100 years since the burn. Similarly, Burnham calls Rillak with a proposal of her own to help them both save face. All this time on Discovery, Book has been in therapy with Dr. Culber. He's having a rough time of it, absorbing the profound loss of family, friends, his entire world. Culber is deeply sympathetic, but also leads with the reality that Book will never truly heal from the loss. Nothing will be the same again. Back on that icy L-class moon with the stranded shuttle crew, bad becomes worse. None of their systems will work, and there is a really nasty, hungry monster just outside that tracks its prey through electromagnetic sensing, and it's now trying to eat the shuttle. So the crew have to turn everything off and hoof it to high ground. The big scary monster, wait, make that monsters plural, are close behind. As long as the crew stay ahead and keep everything switched off, they have a chance. They just need to get to a safe place, turn on their comms at the designated time, and wait for the Armstrong to beam them out. There's an awful lot of bickering and mistrust and arguing about who has the best plan. That compels Tilly to step up and reassert her command, and it's just then that a lightning bolt hits near Adira and melts the ice around them, which then freezes into a trap. Hey, guess what? They'll have to work together to get Adira unstuck, but only after some truths come out, like how Gorev's family suffered under the Emerald Chain and how Haral's father was actually an activist working against the Emerald Chain. So you see, common ground. Now, can they please release Adira from their icy shackles? Yes, they can, and they do. Teamwork. Returning to Ni'Var, Burnham and Saru bring the delegates back together, and a solution is presented. A committee. Yes, a bureaucratic solution to a bureaucratic problem. Well, wait, it's better than that. Burnham volunteers herself to serve on a committee that will provide review and resolutions for issues within Federation member worlds. And in this case, she was raised on the planet formerly known as Vulcan, so this sounds pretty good. All except, and a new alliance is forged. The opposite of peace is happening on that hellacious moon. Tilly orders her cadets to start calling the Armstrong now that they're in place. With comms activated, she will distract the beasts that are trying to eat them by firing her phaser as much as she can. At this point, they all just start shooting and thankfully get beamed out of there at the last moment, just as Tilly was soon to become a meal for that moon monster. They return safely to Starfleet HQ, and Dr. David Cronenberg congratulates Tilly on her bravery and leadership. He's impressed, and he says that they need someone with her optimism. The offer to teach at the Academy is open to Tilly whenever she wants it. On Ni'Var, ceremonial passing of the Federation flag to the president takes place, and there's just one more thing Burnham needs to know. That would be the fate of that Qowat Milat called Javini. She'll go to a monastic world with a special guide, Burnham's mother, to teach and rehabilitate her. Burnham approves. Privately, Rilak admits to Burnham that she got tipped off about the exit clause before the negotiations by none other than T'Rina herself. Burnham understands, and also understands the thing with Vance being ill was just a ruse. All's well that ends well, but maybe Burnham asked the president could act with a little more transparency in the future. On board Discovery, Book makes a breakthrough with Dr. Culber by completing a mandala in sand, a symbolic therapy about his loss of Kwejian. Once it's done, it's wiped away. And Book asks Culber if he has his own things that need to be wiped away someday. Culber admits, yes, someday. Finally, Burnham and Tilly reminisce in their old quarters. They talk about when they first met, how Tilly used to snore, and Tilly admits that she's going through some personal stuff. There's the question of why she's here in Starfleet, feelings about pressure from her mother, who is now 900 years in the past. It's all good reason to try something else, like teaching at the Academy. Goodbyes are said, hugs are given, a shuttle departs as Tilly warps to her next adventure. The end.
Oh.
So much, Holly. So
Yeah.
much. You said awe. Was it awe for Tilly?
Bye,
Was
Tilly.
yeah.
I mean, I feel sad for the people who have really like connected with Tilly, because I know that there's a large group of people that have connected with that character. So
Yeah.
womp womp.
I think I love Tilly. I think she's great, and I think Mary Wiseman plays her so wonderfully. I wonder, though, I hope this is not another one of those moments where the show plays with our emotions, because let's face it, people have come and gone, characters have been killed off, and then like they're back in the next episode. And I feel like that's almost a missed opportunity where, well, if you're going to kill off a character, that could and should truly be an earned moment and have meaning. But B, if you're going to move somebody physically, like they did with Saru, at the end of last season, I want to spend some time with that character there. Like, not everything has to take place in Discovery all the time.
Right.
So like I like the idea of her being away, but I also like the idea of checking in with her and spending some time there. What do you think's going to happen?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if she going to be a Saru or is she going to be a Jadzia Dax?
Yeah.
Jadzia is just there. She goes. She gone. I mean, obviously there were behind the scenes reasons. There might be behind the scenes reasons here that I'm not privy to.
Yeah.
But I mean, I hope that we get to see her. I hope maybe this is the setup for an Academy show. I don't know.
Could be.
It would be a great setup.
Yeah, and she'd be wonderful at it. And
Mhm.
this episode with their plot line was exactly the kind of thing that I would want to see. Like in a very short amount of time, we got a lot of interaction. We got a lot going on with those characters. By the way, answering in the chat real quick, Paul Troutwine said, "Fat exit." Yeah, Paul, I said that. You're welcome. So let's move on. We have some callers who are already checking in with us. Very glad to see. And first up, calling from, it doesn't look like a hellacious winter landscape like that Class L moon. Actually, it looks like...
Anything with snow is hellacious, though.
Well, it is. That is very true. That's why I'm here and not
Truly
in Chicago.
a California girl. Thank you.
Hey, that's a big reason why I moved. It's Chris calling from the beauty of the serene Northwest, or a Zoom background.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take Northwest. I went to college in Oregon. I'll take that.
Okay.
That's on brand. Yeah.
All right.
We can do that. No, yeah. I do think, to what you were saying, John, I hope we see Tilly do whatever it is she's doing. Because, like, I believe this arc of her, like, she needs to leave. She needs to get out from under Burnham and all these people, and she needs to sort of become her own person. I'm afraid what's going to happen is she's going to get shipped out to the Academy 5 or 6 episodes later. She's going to come back, but we're not going to see her like do anything at the Academy, and she will have learned things, but that will have happened off screen. So I do want, like you were saying, I hope we check in with her. Like we're going to get, but I feel like we might get the growth without seeing how we got the growth, if that's making sense, which is sort of my one fear of where this is going. But I believe we're going to the Academy. I just actually, like you said, I want to see it happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to see how they're rebuilding the Academy too, right? Because this is like a newly established thing after the burn, and bringing together all the aspects of Starfleet that were before. So I would like to see how not just Tilly and how she grows in that place, but I want to see how the Academy itself actually grows from basically nothingness.
You know, the nice thing about Star Trek in the past, whether it's TOS, but particularly the period of TNG, DS9, Voyager, is that we spent so much time in that world, in that universe, rather, that there were a lot of details that we could put together because we could spend time doing those other things. You could spend time back on Earth. You could spend time in a space station. You could spend time in different ships. And with Discovery, with these being short seasons, but they're all connected by long arcs, I want the show to feel the confidence to just explore characters and situation from time to time instead of it all being plot all the time. And that's why I was, saying before, I feel like I enjoyed episodes 3 and 4 so far more than I did the first 2, because I feel like the first 2 just tried to dive us headlong into this new, galaxy-threatening plot. And I was like, well, wait a minute, we're 900 years in the future. Can't we, and we already did that, can't we just sort of get our bearings for a moment, let the characters be for a moment? And maybe you could accomplish that by having these smaller plot threads that aren't threatening the end of the universe, but could just let somebody like Tilly go experience something and grow into this role as a mentor, a teacher. Like, I think all of that's fascinating, and it gives us a good point of view into what this world of the Federation looks like. And we got little hints of that, with David Cronenberg saying, you came to us being an outsider, and what we recognized was you have these ideals and these values that we've lost touch with. Cool. I want to explore that because that's all the meaty stuff that speaks to us now in the early 21st century watching this show. So I really want to go there with Discovery.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, what I liked about this week especially is that two of the three, and maybe three of the three, I haven't thought about it a whole lot, but at least Tilly's arc and Book's arc were sort of about learning, this is a bit reductive, but roll with the punches, right? Go where life takes you. If we're going to do the path metaphor, sometimes the path will go elsewhere where you didn't expect it and have the confidence to do that. And so Tilly, she has to be willing to get out from Discovery and go teach. In Book, it's his whole thing about the grief, which again, I thought that was a great sort of C-plot, I guess, technically. But yeah, like you were saying, these character moments where like we don't have to do the MacGuffin every week. So yeah, I like when things thematically tie together, even if they don't narratively tie together, but they were both about this idea of sort of like working through something and getting out on the other side and sort of recovering.
Yeah, and you know, I think you could cynically look at this episode, and I don't want to be that way on the show because I think it's actually one of the strengths of this episode that everybody is having this sort of therapeutic moment. They're all in each plot line, they're all working through something. They're all trying to get to the other side, and it's not just about the plot, it's about the personal experience and the understanding that they're trying to break through. And also, I had a note to myself here. We'll get into the maybe with one of our other callers. We'll get more deeply into one of the other plots, the negotiation. And do you guys remember that that Onion video that came out when the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie came out? And it was like Star Trek fans complaining that, well, this movie is just full of action. Like, where's the long, drawn-out negotiations and diplomacy and explorations?
Cowboy diplomacy.
Yeah, right. And like, it was funny because obviously that is the stereotype. But like, having an episode like this, where there's a lot of time spent on diplomacy and discussion, I was like, oh, this is refreshing.
Yeah.
You know?
I also think that this episode and the last episode, and I think you put something in your notes about this too. I'm sorry, I have a piece of ice in my mouth. Okay.
Wait, there's ice in that coffee cup?
The dill, gin, and tonic.
All right, there we go. That's the Holly, I know.
Oh, it's just in a fancy cup.
Yes.
The two things, well, the one thing about both of these episodes that I really liked, and again, I think, do you have a note in this? Is that there are aspects of it that are like standalone. Like the last episode, we talked about how saving that species was sort of like a standalone could be a standalone, and I would be completely okay with it. You know, there's a lot about this episode that I feel like is could be standalone while still lending to the larger picture, which by the way, somebody in the chat asked how many episodes are in the season. 13.
Gotcha.
At 13.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying the aspect of it still being largely serialized, but with storylines and plots that are seemingly bottle.
Yeah. I mean, you could have taken the stuff with Navarre and just literally planted it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, and that would have been fine. You'd still get to the same resolution and the same discussion there, because there was definitely a lot to unpack with that. I mean, you know, if this were a regular mission log, you could do a whole discussion about this idea of, you know, a political institution working together or being isolationist, and what the discussion around that. I thought it was great, and they barely scratched the surface of it, but it was a satisfying scratching the surface of it. So I was glad for that. Chris, any other thoughts or comments tonight before we
I
go to our
do want
next
to
call?
thank you for telling me that it was lightning melting the ice, because I watched the episode 2 or 3 times and I never figured that out. I was like, the ice is alive? What
Did
is
anybody
happening?
get?
It took me 3 times to figure that out too. Yes.
The first time that I watched it twice. The first time that I watched it, this is a Heart of Stone vibe. Like, is it alive? Is it going to grow? Like, is it grow? Like, it very much reminded me of DS9's Heart of Stone when Kira Nerys is stuck in that rock that's growing around her. I was like, is this going to be?
It seemed a bit like that. And the thing that I kept wondering was not so much about how Adira got into that position, but it was getting them out because they used that sort of like, programmable matter manifested sort of rope thing. And I was just thinking, well, if it's too hard to break out of the ice anyway, then just throwing somebody that line and pulling really hard, well, you're basically just pulling against how good their grip is, which apparently is not going to be as strong as that ice holding on to the boots. So, yeah, it'd be me on the other end holding that thing, and every time they pull, it just flies out of my hands. Like, nope, guys, can you just use a phaser at this point? Just
Are you bad at tug of war?
Tug of war, you got a whole team on either side, and your boots are not like
so the rest of the team
ground.
The rest of the team is making up for your lack of skills?
Yes, and lack of strength. Yes. So yes, Chris, excellent to hear from you tonight. Thanks so much for the call, and till next time.
Yeah, have a great one. Stay safe,
have a
guys.
great night. Bye. Cheers.
So much snow.
So much snow up there in Chris's room.
And in the episode, I had to put a sweater on halfway through. I was like,
yeah,
I can't. Snow is not my cup of tea at all.
I know that feeling. Well, hey, let us talk now to our next caller. We have from the lower decks. It's our old friend Alan. Alan, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Hi, John. Hi, Holly. It is a pleasure as always to speak with you guys. I'm happy that my current environment is safely above Class L, although I don't know how much longer it's going to be that way. It's one of those situations where, it's, like I said, I live in Iowa. If you don't like the weather, wait an hour, it'll change.
Right. Yep.
So, yeah, it's definitely not always the Bob Ross happy little trees with their happy little snowfall scenario.
Kidding.
It doesn't always work that way.
I find that so hard to believe.
Yeah.
But funny, Jane in the chat here. Well, Holly and John, I guess you don't have any plans to visit New Hampshire this winter. No, not a chance.
Not a snowball's chance in hell.
No, Jane, send pictures, okay? That'll and maybe that will be somebody's Zoom background.
It is going to snow here in California. Like, we have a storm moving in, but it's above 7,000 feet, and you could not pay me. No. I'll stay down here. Like, I'm in a beach community, so I think I'm like 50 feet above sea level or something, and I'm fine with it.
You'll be okay. Alan, what's on your mind about the show tonight?
Well, like Chris, I wanted to thank you for clearing up the whole Adira snow situation or ice scene. That was very confusing.
It was really quickly too.
Yeah,
it happened quickly and it looked alive. Here's what I gather, and please, anybody who has a different take on it. My take on it is this: the lightning hits the ice, it melted what was directly under Adira's feet, and you saw it kind of bubble up. But
it immediately
and then it immediately
freezes again
froze.
because it's that cold there. I can't.
No, it sucks. I'll compare it only to Chicago and our next caller, Paul. He'll know what this is all about. In Chicago, the worst thing any day that first of all, digging your car out of snow is terrible. I do not miss that at all.
I'm from Schaumburg. I know this.
Yeah, right. The days you open the door and you try to catch a breath and you can't because it is so cold and it just hits you. And you're trying to catch your breath. But here's the weirdest thing. You feel inside your nose, you feel the hairs in your nose freeze because it is that cold. And as soon as you take a breath, all the vapor just freezes. And that is the weirdest thing because you feel like you have little ice crystals in your nostrils. Holly, you look horrified.
I don't want to.
Well,
I would like to avoid experiencing that.
If that's horrifying, part of my confusion too was in some of the shots, it looked like they possibly could have been ripping Adira's feet off, getting her out of there, and that just didn't seem good at all.
No,
just it's like pulling is an interesting strategy, yes, but surely let's come up with a plan B here.
Yeah. Yeah, I did not think that was a good one. I mean, there had to be, and I get it, like they're limited by the whole electromagnetic thing. I understand. Although you have to wonder, because they said that those creatures would eat crustacean on that planet. Are they giving off an electromagnetic signal? So,
I wondered that too.
Yeah.
Chalk it up to, that's more Class L planet stuff. You got electric shrimp.
Great band name, by the way.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll use that at some point. And I dug, of course, there's so much about that plot line that was, direct parallel to Galileo 7, which I thought was fine. I was
going to say.
Yeah, and I was there for it. Like, use a classic, that's fine. Mm-hmm. I also felt like that monster reminded me of Star Trek 2009.
Absolutely. That's what I was just going to say. There's a lot about this episode that reminded me of Star Trek 2009. The cadet uniforms, super similar.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
The red, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
They're really well tailored.
Really good.
But they're extremely similar.
Lovely hoods.
Delta Vega with the crazy guy with all the eyes. He's got
yeah, right.
Very similar.
Spock's neighbor, yep, of course. I was going to say though too. I mean, we joke all the time about the transporter and it being a kill box, but what's the over under on shuttle missions? Really, that doesn't seem like a better option to me.
No, I agree. That's not good. Yeah. And I was glad, actually, it was just one line, but I was glad they addressed it of just saying this is not a holo simulation, because clearly that would have been another way to write that story. Is just like, oh, something happens, but it's like a Kobayashi Maru thing where it's just a simulation. They needed to get that out of the way, because that crossed through my head the first time I watched it.
The good news, yes, this is a holo simulation. The bad news, the holo simulation has also gone wrong.
Right. Well, that's you just wrote the episode right there.
There you go. Yeah.
What else? What else is on your mind tonight, Alan, about the episode?
Oh gosh, I mean, I'm slowly. Normally I'm not a shipper, but Saru and Tarina are that works for me. That works for me.
It worked for me too. I audibly said out loud when I was rewatching it today, I was like, do I ship this? I might ship this.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Tea and meditation, that's a thing.
Pretty hot. Yeah.
Pretty hot?
Yeah. Tea and meditation. Yeah. By the way, I hope that we all notice this. We have yet a new third pronunciation of Bajor.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, not Bajor or Bajor, but Bajor.
Bajor.
It's about the emphasis.
Yeah. Right? I mean, that was a little weird to me. Sounds like a choice. So, I don't know. Maybe things have changed in that 900 years.
Had it? Yeah. Censors?
That's a choice, too.
Yes.
Did we know? Did they know about Bajor or Bajor back in Burnham's day? Maybe she's only just read it and she's just getting it wrong. like reading. It's like when you read a fantasy novel and then you hear like the audiobook version and you're like, oh, that's how you pronounce that.
That happens all the time. I feel like there are so many things that people only ever read and then they hear it pronounced and you're like, is that how you say it? Like I did. Or if you actually go to try to say it and you don't know how to pronounce it because you've only ever read it and then you like get flustered because you're like, I might mess this up. That happens all the time too.
Our excellent producer, Earl, has called it Bajor du jour. So that's what we're getting from Star Trek.
Exactly.
The Bajor du jour. Nicely done, Earl. Any other thoughts tonight, Alan, before we part ways?
No, just other than I agree with you 100%. It was super nice to have the DMA as a underlying element through the episode, but not focused solely on it, and that we had what felt like a good, strong A and B plot.
Mm-hmm.
So, This
And
was,
a little
this
bit
was
of a,
great.
a little bit of a C plot too. Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
well, yeah, with booking Culber there, yes, that's.
Man, I love Culber.
Oh, I said it
So
last
good.
time.
Dude is really like he's going up the ranks and on my ladder.
Yeah, strange. I don't know. Is that a real thing? The posing someone for their funeral, is that a thing that happens? Or did he just make that up?
I have heard of this. Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
gee.
I mean, look, we don't do it in my family.
Okay.
Although when I'm gone, you do whatever you want. That's
Yeah.
that's fine. Just set me up on a bar stool with a martini glass, and that's just take pictures, okay? So yeah, but it is a thing.
Okay.
So it's probably not common anymore, but it is a thing. So
good to know. Good to know.
Cool. By the way, David in the chat says that he feels like Mark Alaimo probably slipped that in very early, Bajor as pronunciation. So that could very well be. So.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we dare not argue with Mark Alaimo. All right, Alan. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Take care.
It's been fun. Talk to you guys next time.
Likewise. Till next time, man. Be good. All right. Hey, this is a perfect opportunity before we hop over to our next calls and continue the conversation. First of all, yeah, Paul, have a drink. Good for you. And but we'll just take a quick moment to once again say thank you to the folks over at cufflinks.com for their awesome Star Trek socks. Don't forget, you can use the code BESTGIFTS to get 15% off site-wide. And if you spend over $100, you will get free 3-day shipping. Orders shipped the same or next business day. So thank you again. But also, while we have you here and your rapt attention, if you have not joined us yet at the Mission Log page on Patreon, patreon.com/Mission Log, you are missing out. You are missing out on so much. You get early access to our episodes. So you get video, you get audio, you get a chat on the Patreon site, you get exclusive Patreon swag, and I've been seeing notes about some of that going out to our listeners as well. And more importantly, you get access to the Mission Log Discord, and that has truly become a destination in and of itself. There are conversations there about all kinds of sci-fi, not just Star Trek, all kinds of fandom. And it really has just grown into a true community where it's friends hanging out with friends. And we're talking about all sorts of stuff. It's also where Norman and I have our weekly After Dark chats about that week's episode of Mission Log. Norman's been doing Sunday mornings talking about Stargate and anything else that comes to mind. So there is so much happening there. You don't want to miss it. Go to patreon.com/missionlog. And you can enjoy all of that for as little as $1 a month. We even take a percentage off if you join for the year. So dirt cheap. What are you waiting for? Go sign up. All right, back to the show and back to our next caller. We are so happy to have our friend Paul, also calling from a wintry wonderland. How you doing tonight, Paul?
Greetings, Holly and John. How are you two? You look good.
We've
got attendees even cold. She's got her hat on, so it's starting to change up here.
See, we're both warm. I mean, look, it got down to like the 60s today. I had to put on the heater in the recording room. So
we are in the 50s today, and we'll be 60 tomorrow and the next day. It's really strange.
That is weird. Okay, but
yeah,
nighttime.
we're almost as warm as you are.
Yeah, it's like that's daytime.
Yeah.
What about nighttime?
Yeah, weird. I don't know. It's cold.
Right. See, exactly.
No, we've had some snow, but it hasn't stuck around long.
Okay,
so far this evening, though, I'm stuck with two things in my mind I can't quite get out of. First is relating to Holly in a tug of war. I see her in that front line being pulled across the rope, hanging on, not trying to fall into the mud. She's obviously going to be the front person pulling like she can, but I just see this vision of her being just like, oh, I'm not getting wet. And she like huckles onto the rope and sort of works her way across it.
But Holly being Holly, we're going to talk about like you're not here for a minute. Holly being a basketball player, I feel like there is nothing that would surprise me.
I was a weightlifter too.
You were a weightlifter as well. I mean,
yeah.
you could come on here next week and say like, I have a wrestling championship belt. I've got and I would believe you. I would just, whatever it is that you say that you can do, I would believe you.
John, we're so gullible.
Yeah.
No, I swear, you guys. I was a varsity basketball player and a weightlifter. At one point, okay, now I'm going to tell you something that you're going to totally think is like I'm lying, and it's 100% true.
Oh, I can't wait.
I set a record at my school for a little while in weightlifting.
Wow.
But in my weight class, and there wasn't very many people, so it's actually not that impressive. But I did hold a record for back squatting.
Nice.
So I still think it just lends itself to you crawling across the dirt rope and staying dry. That's the.
Well, I mean, at this point, like how many years am I removed from high school? I do not have that same.
I don't know,
strength
6
anymore.
See, I was about to say
8.
that too.
That's nice.
4.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm going
No,
on
I'm-
50, so
I think I'm 6. I think I'm at 16 years out of high
Okay.
school.
such
so.
a baby. All right, so the next time you watch this episode,
Mhm.
I like really had a hard time taking this monster seriously, because the minute it popped out, all I could think of was Bumble from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I'm like, look, she's being chased by a Bumble, and there's 2 of them.
2 of them, yeah.
And it was just the strangest thing, and I tuned out of that, but I got to tell you, it's been mentioned in the text chat. If you
Yeah, somebody in the Discord, actually, I think BC mentioned it the other day, said it was great, and I had to watch it, and I just didn't have time to do so. Do you want to, I mean, the show is all about spoilers. Do you want to share a nugget or two from that you picked
it's
up?
Will Wheaton opening up about
Never heard of him.
how one line in this episode stuck with him and rang so true that he was driven to tears. I was driven to tears watching him. I mean, it's amazing. I just recommend that people watch it. I want to spoil it, but that's all I'll say about it. But it was a very personal episode for a lot of people.
I mean, well, not Tilly's choice. The continued conversation of grief is still hitting me fairly hard. Their books specifically, and they say early in the episode that the peace that Book sort of found was fleeting, and it's like sort of common for people who are going through grief to experience that kind of thing, which that's been the case for me. Additional. I might have mentioned on the show before. I know that I've said that the grief that I'm dealing with is directly related to having lost a close friend of mine last year, very suddenly. And I might have mentioned who it was at some point, but I haven't in the last few episodes while we've been discussing grief. But it was Grant Imahara. And he has a character named after him in this episode, which I knew was inevitable. I knew that was going to happen at some point in time. But it blindsided me, and I was sobbing. And we don't even, it's the female captain of the Armstrong, which is the ship that comes and beams up the kids on the planet who are, in a winter wonderland, a horrible winter wonderland. But I did not expect that. And so it was a weird sensation to be connecting with a character who is dealing with grief, and then to have the person that you're grieving have something named after them in the episode. Very bizarre.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. I can't even imagine. Well, I can. We are located 10 miles south of Oxford, Michigan, where the shooting took place. So this entire area is just, in that sort of realm. But these episodes have been very therapeutic for it. It's been amazing and shocking, but it's just awesome. But moving on to a little happier stuff, let's look at Tilly as a professor. So if you were in college and your professor said that, well, I am the true history professor because I was living 1,000 years ago. I don't know anything in between.
Right.
How valuable would that be, in an education, to have someone who actually was just there 8 months ago? I was 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
How cool would that be?
Yeah. But like you said, there's what's sort of strange is that we haven't gotten a lot of adjustment from the Discovery crew into their future. And you take one of us and you move us 900 years in the future, and we've got a lot of catching up to do. We've got, presumably, if there's still a here to come back to. So that alone, I wanted to see explored more. Because obviously we look to Discovery as being our future, and they have technology beyond our wildest dreams. But what happens when they are displaced, and how do they integrate with a culture that has evolved without them? So I would love to see more of that. But yeah, this is a fascinating idea to have Tilly there as sort of, being the torchbearer for, this classic Starfleet in their eyes.
Yeah, and I have to go full tilt in with Culver as being almost like just an amazing character development in 3 episodes this year, or 4 episodes. What a rock he has become, considering where he was, season 2, dead-ish, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
And now just an absolutely amazing arc. He certainly is the one I'd go to for advice. I mean, on that ship.
I appreciate that he inserted a personal experience as well. And he even mentioned that, classically in that sort of profession, you're not supposed to do that. But it felt right, and they know each other really well. So it's like inevitable that something like that is going to be shared. I have a personality disorder, so I'm neurodivergent. And the way that I connect with people is by sharing my personal experiences too. And I've seen conversations about it where people have been like, oh, you're just making the conversation about yourself. And it's not that at all. It's that we're trying to connect with you, and we're trying to explain to you how and why we understand or relate based on a similar experience. So I appreciate that he did that, and it wasn't made out to be like that he was making it about himself.
No. I wrote down that line that in conventional therapy, we're not expected to share personal things, but as crewmates, we already know too much about each other. Like it was a lighthearted way to address that, to make it personal. And I just felt like I've been waiting on a line like that in Star Trek for a very long time. And I felt like for all the episodes of Star Trek that we've covered on Mission Log up until now, and still many more to go, there are moments that you feel like, well, wait, the character just went through something terrible and profound and traumatic and whatever. How are they going to get this resolved, or how are they going to work through this? And we would get little hints of it. Well, there's Deanna Troi. She's a counselor. Somebody will presumably go talk to the counselor. And we made a deal of it on DS9 that there was somebody named, but then apparently they're just gone because here's Ezri and Cisco says like, well, we don't have a counselor. Well, wait, but you did, but nobody ever saw them. What happened, This was so satisfying that it felt like it made up for a lot of that, just to address that these characters have issues that linger, especially if you've gone through something terrible. And Book has been through such a horrible thing that he can't just shake it off. That's the way that this should be explored. Yeah. Paul, any other last thoughts here before we go on to our final callers?
I think I'm good. It's always great to talk to you folks. I think Discovery's off to a really good start this year. Peace out, and look forward to the next time.
Hey, likewise, man. Live long and prosperous. See you next week.
Cheers.
Right, bye.
Oh, what's he drinking?
Gin and tonic.
Oh, me too.
Always gin and tonic.
Except mine has dill pickle brine in it. You try that.
I'm back to the Bombay because John
ran out of
Hendrix. Now I got to finish my Bombay before
it's
another
too
one.
Good. That's why.
It's too good. All right, peace out.
Take care, Paul. Be good.
Cheers.
Kim, how you doing tonight? Welcome to the show. Good to see you.
Good
Welcome.
Yeah. Hey, John. Hey, Holly.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah.
How are you tonight? What's on your mind?
I'm good. Well, the only thing I got to say about this last episode of Discovery was there was way too much packed in there. It seemed like a checklist, and
there was a lot.
Yeah, a lot. And everybody else has kind of covered everything I wanted to say. So I'm not going to go into depth, but yeah, there was a couple things that kind of stood out. I mean, the stuff with Book, with Culber was okay, but I thought that was forced. I actually thought that they kind of just threw that in there because Burnham wanted Book to go see Culber, and then some of the other stuff with Tilly in particular, that was actually kind of a shock at the end that she was leaving Discovery, going to Starfleet Academy, but good fit. But again, the character of Tilly, I feel, is the glue that holds Discovery together.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, if she's not there for on every episode, okay, I relate with Burnham, kind of relate with Stamets, but you know what? Without Tilly is the person that actually relates to just about everybody, right?
And that's why I said at the beginning of this episode that, I felt bad for the people who connect so much with Tilly, because I know that there is a great deal of you, and her, leaving is going to be sad that you don't feel like there's somebody that sort of represents yourself.
I wonder, Kim, if because I agree with you. I feel like Tilly from the get-go was so relatable and just charming and fun at the same time, because she was unsure of herself at so many turns. But in 3+ seasons now, she's got to grow, and she's got to find a way to be the even better person than she is. And I wonder if in the course of the series so far, we've gotten different characters who have helped fill that role. So like early on, I feel like Tilly almost parallel with Saru. Saru is really speaking to a section of the audience who felt like his overcoming his fear, his rising to the occasion, becoming stronger, that was something that they identified with. So they really felt a connection to Saru. And now he's really grown into himself. Tilly kind of carries that as well. She's somebody that's very relatable, is a little unsure, and then is growing into her better self. And I feel like Culber is somebody who was for a long time just played as a functional character. Like, what does Culber do, but purely in relation to what he accomplishes for other people? And now we're getting a much deeper look at Culber as a personality, as somebody who has this heart and is like this human factor in the crew. So I agree with you to an extent that maybe if the book stuff felt like it was forced, in actual screen time, we got very little of that, but there was a lot of depth gone into those very short scenes. And I wonder if we're laying this groundwork here for Culber to really be that heart of the ship that people can go to and bare their souls. So then Culber becomes this entry point for us to really see the humanity of the Discovery crew. Because, Saru is less so, Tilly will now be away. So I feel like these characters are almost overlapping, and some come to prominence and then some kind of fade back a little bit. Another will come to prominence, fade back a little bit. So maybe that's what they're playing at here.
Yeah. Well, I'd actually agree with that. When you put that out, John, like that.
I'm just making this up as I go, so.
That's fine. That's fine. There was a lot to digest in this last episode. So
I feel like that's going to be par for the course, though, again, because we're only 13 episodes, and all of these episodes have been very, very plot driven. The last two have had great character development, though, which I appreciate. If you're going to have it crammed full I appreciate that there's some character development included, because I didn't really feel like there was any great character development in the first 2 episodes.
No.
No, yeah.
And I wonder if you could almost take an episode. Of course, everything's much easier in hindsight, but could you take an episode like this and take the dramatic moments, and spread them out over a couple of episodes, or tease a bit earlier on? Like, I feel like the relationship with Navarre, obviously they started that early on because they really gave you the background and the history on that last season. But then it all got sort of wrapped up in this one room with about 8 people, over the course of this episode. I don't know if there were deeper depths to go with that. I left a note for myself that said, I feel like the conversation there was so worthwhile and it was so interesting, and yet I wasn't totally satisfied with the resolution. And I'll get into that maybe in a moment with our next caller, and as we wrap up the show, I'll keep you all in suspense for what I thought would be another way to go if I put on my writer's hat, which I know that not everybody likes, but my show, I'll put it on anyway. Kim, lovely to see you tonight. We're going to go to one more caller, and we'll see you next week, I hope.
Great seeing you guys.
All right. Cheers. Live long
Bye.
and prosper. See ya. All right. Wrapping up the show tonight with a great background and a great t-shirt. It's Cherie, all the way from the Ritos. How you doing, Cherie?
Hey, doing all right.
Good to see you. What is on your mind tonight?
Well, as Kim was saying, a lot of people have already covered a lot of things, and actually one of the reasons this is the first episode I've called into is because I have a really hard time talking about Discovery. I feel like it's easier for me to talk about Lower Decks because, for one, everyone loves Lower Decks, and I like being a cheerleader. Discovering the way someone loves a sibling, like, only I'm allowed to complain about this person. Like, if you complain about them, I'm going to yell at you, but if I complain about them, I'm the sibling, so I can do that.
Yeah.
So I'm always like kind of a wait and see type of person with Discovery. I'm like, I feel like it has so much potential sometimes. It like makes me mad half the time, and then like, nah. But yeah, I liked this episode. I just figured I'd talk about something kind of more general, just about Discovery and really just honestly Star Trek overall. But
Please.
I've noticed it a lot in Discovery. Is the names and kind of the character names and what they say about the representation of culture, because I want to put it out there because I know Star Trek can grow, and I know that it tends to listen to its fans, so I want to put this out there in hopes that they will grow from it, because I think they've done a great job at like including diversity and really trying to go there. But if you look at all of the names are white names. For the main characters, all the main characters cast, like they even called the ship Shenzhou, but the name of the captain is Philippa Georgiou, and she clearly has East Asian roots, but they never address those, and it's really frustrating because it kind of makes the entire future look whitewashed, and I really hope that's not what happens in the future. So I hope in the future we embrace our diversity.
There's going to be a lot fewer white people in the future.
And it's like they have them now.
We had,
but they don't have the name.
There was an Imahara in this episode. You just
that's I missed that one. So thank you for pointing that out, because I said it in the comments. But I never got the pleasure of actually having met him or anything. But I was a huge Mythbusters fan, and Grant Imahara was basically my favorite.
He was a wonderful person. He was one of my best friends.
Definitely seemed like it, and I just grieve him as a fan, so I can only imagine. But yeah, like I missed that though, because I feel like when the action scenes happen, like so much is going on that like my brain cannot absorb. So
to be fair, it was an Easter egg, and it was it's not. They didn't insert that in a way in which it was like meant to be a representation. It was meant to be a tribute, which in its own way is a little bit frustrating. That I see your point.
Yeah.
Oh God, I need a tissue now.
I completely understand. That happens to me like every time I get like even a little bit sad. I think I'm allergic to sadness.
Sometimes, Cherie, what'll happen is when they're building out a production and writing the show Bible and developing who the characters are, they really just exist as a name on a page, and that's it. And then casting starts, and they may see all kinds of different people for that role.
Yeah.
So somebody probably liked the name Philippa Giorgio. This just sounds good. It sounds like a captain's name, and no idea that Michelle Yeoh would be the person to.
And
play
when
that.
Michelle Yeoh wants to do Star Trek, you let her do.
You say yes, right. And somebody in the chat pointed out that they identified the character later as Melee, and that is right. But that could have been something that came later after she was cast. So
Right.
then the question becomes, well, wait, if we have this character, we have this actor, do we rename the character to fit the actor?
And I feel like they never do that, though. Like
They
I
don't.
understand
They don't.
that they start with something, but also once again, they've also started with the assumption that the character has a white name, so that's a little problematic on itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. They could just be starting with literally picking names out of a hat and just saying, definitely making those more diverse and interesting, or changing them potentially as they get other actors could be.
Yeah,
a way to go.
Even the names that are like a little bit more diverse, like Owo's, and I can't even do her full like Owo.
Yeah.
That's why they call her Owo.
Yes.
they know the rest of us can't do the full one.
Yeah.
But her first name is Joanne, and I'm like, oh come on, go the whole way. Like you got the last name, and no one ever calls her Joanne. So it's just like I think it's like once Pike did it like once, and it was just like, yeah, her name's Owo, but just do it the full way.
So since we're out of time here, though, and I love this conversation, I think it's important to have, but I really just want to drop this idea out here on YouTube and the rest of our audience, because it's something that was bothering me about the end of the episode. And it has to do with this whole negotiation thing. And I thought it was very interesting that you have a couple of strong lead characters who also have to answer to the political reality of the people around them. I think that's a great premise. I think it's also a great premise that they don't want to lose face. So you have to have a couple of other characters say, no, here's how we can do it. I'm not satisfied with the ending, though. I'm not satisfied with the resolution, because Tarina said, well, we don't want to have a Starfleet, like a military person weighing in on civilian matters. And, Burnham just volunteers herself. I'm the person who can fix it. I'll be on this committee, and I'm from Vulcan, which shouldn't really matter because you're just talking about a committee made up of all independent people. But I thought, you know what? To me, it would have made a much stronger position for Burnham to do this if this was something that comes at the end, say, of the series or a different place in the run of the series, and she resigns her command. Because if the concern was she's from Starfleet and Tarina doesn't want somebody from Starfleet weighing in on civilian matters, okay, my loyalty to Vulcan, my loyalty to the premise of our union with the Federation is more important than me being in Starfleet. That sounds like something that I can do. And I just felt like this was one more thing to add to the wall of honors in Burnham's ready room, because we know that realistically, she's getting back on Discovery and going off to save the galaxy again. So this symbolic thing of saying, I'm going to be on a committee. Well, the committee is only going to meet when I'm not saving the galaxy in my starship. So the rest of the time, good luck, everybody. See ya. So that ending left me a bit cold, or I should say the resolution left me a bit cold. It just seemed like we're writing this because we can write it, not because it truly made sense. But I loved everything that got us up to that point. So I don't want to give that resolution too short a shrift. Any thoughts here before we say goodnight?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I feel like on some of the points, I I actually did understand where they were coming from with where they were like, well, she's a citizen of Navarre and she's in Starfleet. So in order for that to be the case, I feel like she's more towards Navarre, right? If you're not a member of Starfleet anymore. But I did feel like, yeah, it kind of did feel like, oh, let's put a little bow on it. And yeah, like you said, it's another thing. Michael is the answer to all questions.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sure she'll figure out what the anomaly, how to fix the anomaly. I mean, that'll be her too. It won't be Stamets. It'll something to do with Michael.
Yeah, exactly. That's a whole other conversation. But
I agree with it. But I did like you said, like everything leading up to it, like, you know, it was nice to have the breather of like an actual like thinky, more Star Trek type, like to have a political discussion episode.
Yeah. And they pulled it off. All right. Well, thank you so much, Cherie. We'll see you soon again, I hope. Holly, thank you. And
I have a parting piece of trivia.
Oh, you do? Ooh, lay it on us. Lay it on us. Yes.
It has to do with us talking about names.
Oh, good.
Somebody in the chat said the last name change was what? Tasha Yar. Tasha Yar's character was originally Hernandez, and they changed it.
Yeah.
But there's an episode of Voyager, Death Wish. There is a hippie in it, and the character's name is Mari Ginsburg, and that character is played by an actor named Mari Ginsburg.
Oh.
And they named the character after the actor because he was so great.
That's cool.
That's my parting trivia for the evening.
That's very cool. I love it. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Mission Log Live is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment. Executive producer, Rod Roddenberry. Technical production on Mission Log and Mission Log Live provided from Roddenberry Podcast. If you'd like to support Mission Log directly, give us a look at patreon.com/missionlog. Thanks to everyone who joined us live or later. Stay safe, stay healthy. We look forward to talking with you next week.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.